Welcome to Life in LA, a look at people and places in Lower Arkansas, our LA. Lower Arkansas is made up of the 15 southernmost counties in the state. Join us each week as we talk to some of the people who make this part of the world such an interesting place to live. And now, let's join Life in LA with our host, Steve Ford.
And it is literally a red letter day in South Arkansas today because this podcast is coming from what's the name of this place?
LifeShare.
LifeShare bus, and I am talking to
Shelby.
Yes,
sir.
From you're one of the ladies in the LifeShare blood donation.
I am.
Bus. I said the last time I came in here we were going to do a podcast.
Mm-hmm. We did. We were at the Blossom Festival.
Oh, that's where it was. That's right. That's right. And so if someone's never given blood, I've already done some of the first steps. I came in and Sharika got me started, got my name and my information, and stuck me on my finger to draw blood. Why do they draw blood out of your finger like that?
We have to make sure your hemoglobin, which is your iron, is either not too high or not too low to give blood. We have to have it in a certain range for men to donate.
Oh, what happens if your iron is too high?
If it's too high, it's just a one-day deferral. And also, usually when it's too high, it's going to be too thick to draw from you. And so a lot of times that would be a waste of product for you and for the person receiving it because they go off of milliliters and pints. So we don't want to draw you if we know that it'll be too thick to get a product from. Yes, sir.
I see the computer is just talking away now.
It is.
Yes, if I was listening, I could hear. Right now, what am I doing right now on this computer?
So we have a set of questions. There's usually about 41 or 42. They're medical questions. In a way, this kind of allows us to see if you can donate. There are a lot of more serious questions on there, and there are also some very simple questions like, are you feeling healthy and well today?
Some of these questions are kind of embarrassing. Look at that one. In the past 3, I'm not even going to read it. Well, there's reasons why they ask.
They do. It's for the safety of the person giving and the person receiving your blood. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, these are rather intimate questions, but the answer all of mine are no for all of the listeners.
Most of them are. It's yes, I feel well, and no to the other ones.
In the past 3 months, have I had a tattoo? No.
No. All right.
I'm okay on that. Hadn't had a piercing. Haven't been treated for either of these 2 illnesses.
There you go. The reason they ask the piercing and tattoo questions is because you can give blood after you've had a newly done tattoo, but they don't want it done outside of a business. They don't want any at-home tattoos or anything like that. They want it done in a regulated business in a regulated state that follows all the health guidelines. Exposed ink on the skin and needles as well.
Have I been outside the United States or Canada?
In the last 3 years.
3 years, no.
And that's a malaria question. They ask that to make sure you're not in an area with a lot of malaria.
I had malaria 30 years ago, and for a while I could not give blood. But it's been long enough now that they let me start giving blood again. And I am wanting to get to the point where I've given a gallon. Now look, here's the question.
Have you ever had malaria?
Have you ever had malaria? And I have to say yes. But it was over 30 years ago. I've never received a brain cell implant. I need one. I feel like I could use some extra brain cells. Never had cancer or leukemia. No heart or lung problems.
In a way, these questions pretty much eliminate what we need to know as far as if we can take your blood or not. Now, there's been a few occasions where somebody's answered yes to a question about an illness we've never even heard before, and we usually have to call our doctor who is on call, Dr. Peters.
Did you ever take a medic? No, I'm safe on that one, too.
And safe on that one as well.
No.
So
I've been through it. There's my whole medical history, but it didn't take but just a few minutes.
No,
I've seen all these questions before, and that helps it to go faster, I guess. So, did I pass?
I think you passed. We're going to review it real quick.
Okay.
And if it acknowledged or flagged any
Shelby,
of them.
I told you I wouldn't ask you any embarrassing questions. Don't ask me any. Okay?
Oh, I got you. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'll just turn it to you and point at it. How about that, since we're on the podcast?
All right.
All right. Everything looks fantastic, and you already told me that you did have malaria over 30 years ago, correct?
Yes, correct.
So that's all I'm going to document, and just ask when, last treatment, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We will save that and move on. And you do consent to donating today, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Yes, I do.
I'm not sure if the people listening to your podcast are aware, but every time you donate usually one whole pint. It goes off your height and your weight, and that one pint can save up to 3 different lives.
Really?
Or it can go to one patient 3 times, depending on what type of treatment they're going through, if they were in a traumatic accident or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of heart transplants patients and things like that.
You know, I got an email recently that said my blood had saved the life of one person.
Well, I'm glad they're still sending those out.
They
They used to
send those
send
out.
text messages out, and they would give, like, the first name and the age of the person you
They gave
saved.
some information and who the blood went to. That's kind of neat to know it actually goes to someone.
I like that. Would you mind, while we continue, if I step over there and get a tray ready for you?
Sure, that'd be great. A tray.
A tray.
We know we're getting close when we get the tray. I am not the worst needle patient in the world, but I think I'm in the top 10. I don't know what it is about needles. I know, well, when I was a kid, I was in the hospital for a short time, and I got a lot of shots and needles, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of turned me off on needles. But I think one reason I like to give blood is because it kind of helps me work through that fear of needles.
It does.
Too.
I think it's a build-up and an anticipation of that little poke, and then it's over with and done with.
You just sit there and you can kind of pump or whatever you have to do.
You sit there and work hard at giving blood and saving lives.
That's it. Do people get nervous when they give blood?
Usually it's mainly our high schools. We do a lot of high schools because they do scholarship money now, and they do the ropes at graduation now. So a lot of times it's the younger kids that kind of hype themselves up.
Oh, for a minute I thought you were going to say, no, you're the only one that gets nervous.
No, not at all. I think everyone, even my most bravest donors, come in here with a little bit of anticipation.
And we're parked in front of Walmart where you can see all the traffic out there. You're leaving from Walmart after lunch and heading across town to another location. Where all do you go?
So anywhere from high schools to hospitals. Lots of Walmarts during the summertime because we don't have the high schools because they're out for the summer. So a lot of times during the summer we actually we hurt more for blood donations than we do during the school season because we get a lot of support from our schools. And so during the summer, you'll see us at Walmart's a lot. We do behavioral centers. We do retirement homes. A lot of time the retirement home is strictly staff because a lot of the older residents cannot donate due to medications, things like that. We do my favorite of the festivals, like the Magnolia Blossom Festival. Yes. We did the Jonquil Festival in Old Washington, Arkansas, and it was a lot of fun. So I love the festivals.
I saw you down at, or your truck, I guess, down at Minden for the Scottish festival down there.
They did one of those. They did a trade days out in Nashville, Arkansas also, which was a giant flea market set up at a cowboy church. So we do them all over the place. Just recently we started going to Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And although I think from where I live at it's 2 hours, but from Texarkana it's an hour 15. So not
we used to
terribly
the
far.
river over there at Broken Bow. There's a pretty place to
It's gorgeous up there. It is gorgeous up there. So now all I'm doing is just scanning in your test tubes and your blood bag, and then after this we will print your information and we can get you out on the floor
you got several bags and some test tubes all on that tray, and you put my number. Is that the mark of the beast that you're putting on?
No, not at all. This is what they call a donor identification number, so your DIN number. And this number will forever be tied to your profile.
Well, that's how they know where that blood goes.
Yes. And every time you donate, you get a new DIN number, and that number is forever tracked on where your blood ended up going. There we go. I always like to tell people, you'll see here that there are 4 bags.
Uh-huh.
Of course, you're only going to do 1 bag. And I like to tell people that because a lot of new donors will sit down and look at those 4 bags and think,
I'll
oh
never
my
fill
gosh,
that up.
they're gonna
Yeah.
drain me dry. But that is not the case at all. We just, these 3 separate bags have what they call coagulation liquid in them. And so later, when your bag goes to donor services, they will separate it out in 3 other bags and go to who it needs to go to.
Oh, that's...
Sharika, yours is on that printer behind you.
Yeah, I'm over. You see me? You see, I'm over here looking like.
I know. So I'm going to print your BDR, and if you don't mind, I'm going to need to flip that paper around right there. So I'm going to go around you.
Okay. These are tight quarters, aren't they?
They are. Sorry.
But, man, you got computers and printers and
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
and bags of blood.
and bags of blood.
And don't
all
forget
in
the
this.
snacks and the beach towels.
Yes, that's what... Well, okay, that's not why I came in.
Oh, well, we know, of course.
But I did hear you had a good giveaway in June.
And who can deny a good beach towel, right?
Oh, everybody needs a beach towel in the summertime.
I'm going to mosey back around you on this side.
Okay.
And if you're ready, we can go get seated in one of
So
those chairs.
this is where it begins then. No, it doesn't begin, but this is where the rubber meets the road.
There you go.
All right.
Do you have an arm preference at all, left or right?
I think left.
Left, okay. I'm going to have you sit in this first chair on the right.
Okay. So I'm going to sit on this one.
You are?
Okay. Here we go.
May I ask your first name, last name, and your date of birth on your podcast?
Sure. Yes, you may. John Ford, May 16, 1952.
Perfect.
And I hope all of our listeners make note of that birth date. They probably want to send me a card.
A late one, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So all I'm going to do right now is place this squeeze ball in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to put this tourniquet around you. And
Okay.
we're going to find a vein I like first off.
You have always been a first strike person.
They're good. That's
I've
what.
never had to hunt.
There you go. That's what we want. I remember my first week on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a little trouble, and that was back in November of last year. You have a wonderful vein right there, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the one
yeah.
we're going to go with.
Mm-hmm.
So my first week was rather nerve-wracking, but after that,
Your first week was last November?
was last November. Yes. So I've been here 8
Not
months.
quite a year yet.
Well, May, June, July. Yeah, 8
Wonder
months.
how many needles you've stuck in arms since that time.
I'm going to tell you what I did last month. I did 122 people. And the month before that, I interviewed 289 people. And
It's not
stuck-
every interview.
Yeah, and not every, and stuck a little over half of that. So not,
Wow.
all right. How tall are we again?
I'm 6 foot tall.
Perfect. We're just putting your height and weight in here right now.
Did you want me to lie about my weight again?
I did. No, I was not even going to ask you your weight on that podcast. I know better than that.
I believe what I said was...
Perfect. For everyone listening at home, he's showing me with his hands.
There, yeah. It was a 2 and a 2 and a...
And a
Well, I work at it, and I wish I could do better and lose a little more weight.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard. The older we get too. I've mentioned those high schools, and when you ask those kids what their weight is, they get really, really quiet. But then they'll whisper something like 115, and I'm thinking, you guys don't even have anything to worry about yet.
Oh, yeah, that's about what I weighed in high school. They say you gain a pound a year for... Let's see, I'm 112, so that means...
All right. I am loading your bags in what we call a hemoflow.
Mm-hmm.
And the hemoflow basically keeps the blood moving from clotting while you sit here and donate.
Oh, that's the thing that rocks it.
It
back
does,
and
yes,
forth.
sir.
Uh-huh.
Scan your information.
So I'm in a recliner, and my arm's on the armrest, and the bag is hanging by my side. What more can we do?
Now you just need somebody to feed you grapes and fan you.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
We try to keep it cool in here, too, while people donate. I know a lot of times we get complaints that it's really, really cold.
Oh,
but that
yeah.
helps when you're donating blood. You don't want to get hot when you're donating blood at all.
I probably shouldn't say this, but the last time I gave blood, I learned something.
What's
I
that?
went and played pickleball that night for about an hour and a half. You probably shouldn't engage in sports after you give.
So, well, you know.
I was depleted for the next 24 hours, but it's probably from an hour and a half of pickleball. Too.
We always tell people no strenuous activity or heavy lifting for 2 to 4 hours, but sometimes people need a little bit more recoup than just those 4
I was safe on
hours.
the 2 to 4 hours, but it was like 6:30 that night. Ooh, that's cold.
It is. I am
A little
scrubbing
alcohol.
you down, cleaning that surface.
This is where I start getting the most nervous, but I don't know why.
It's just the anticipation. That's
Yes.
what it is.
The Heinz ketchup commercial. Anticipation.
I know you've heard of white coat syndrome. People get it when they go to the doctor.
Yes, my wife's blood pressure goes up.
Mine does
10
too.
points when she walks in. I won't
And
tell
it
you
could
what
be a
mine
simple.
does.
It could be a simple checkup. Just how you doing, how you feeling, medication's working okay, and my blood pressure will still kind of start climbing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to get some gloves real quick, and we're going to let that dry. Okay?
Oh, okay. That'll be great. That's the cleanest that crease in my elbow has been for a long time. Now, you're not working alone today. You have someone with you?
I have Miss Sharika, who is my team lead.
She's the team lead.
She is the team lead.
I talked to both of you before I started, and I asked if I could interview you. I found out she was literally from Texas. There's nothing wrong with being from Texas, Sharika.
I know.
There's nothing wrong with being from Texas. In fact, my son has moved to Texas and has announced that he plans to stay there. The Army transferred him down there, and he liked it so well.
But he's going to stay.
He's just going to stay.
All right, we are going to tighten that
This is
tourniquet
it.
up.
The tourniquet's gotten
We're going to
tight.
let that vein get mad at me.
The vein is throbbing.
There you go. You just give me some squeezes on and off.
Okay.
And then
This
what
is where I always look away.
You're okay?
I'm fine. I just don't like to watch it.
You hold that ball really tight for me, and when you feel me poke you, you can release that ball, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Should
Quick poke?
Should I scream or just...
Definitely not,
And now
because
release
you're done. You can relax.
Oh,
You
that-
are flowing.
That's the worst part of the anticipation.
It
And
is.
there's practically, you almost don't know you've done it.
Well, I'm glad because, like I said, when I first started my first week here, I took a lot of tips from my big boss, and that was not lean so much into it with your shoulders and your arms because it makes you very heavy-handed. So I'm glad that wasn't too bad for you. I mean, a needle's a needle regardless, right?
So how do you and Sharika, how do you decide who's gonna, you just alternate?
Well, since you wanted to do the podcast with me, I decided I'd go ahead and take you
I
over.
hope I didn't hurt Sharika.
Oh, no. She is A-okay, I promise you. She's back there kind of watching over us right now.
Yeah, and something just told me you would be a better talker than Sharika, too.
I can run my mouth better than all of them, I think. I think that's my problem.
And both of you are
Thank you.
both of you are trained phlebotomists.
Yes, we are.
Sharika, how long did she just leave?
She did. She went to
just
go
left.
recruit people. Sharika's been here 2.5 years.
Who drives the bus?
Sharika. We have several different team leads, and we have several different types of buses too. So Sharika can drive what we call the mini buses and the shuttle buses. But our big tour buses, you have to have a CDL. And so we have one or two other team leads that do that. And they there's different ways in LifeShare you can work up to your phlebotomy. Your CDL. I personally love phlebotomy. I like being on the floor. Not a big fan of the big buses. I don't think I'll ever drive them.
Yeah.
I think the fun and the action is right where we're
I
at.
had to go to your hometown, Hope. I had to go up
You
there.
did?
I went up there 5 times to pass that CDL test. Well, the bus failed twice. And I'll just tell you, the examiner failed me once or twice because he wanted to. And but I got my CDL by the hardest. You should not announce that kind of news because then people don't really want to ride with you.
Yeah.
but it's not because I couldn't drive.
Well,
Like a couple of times it was the bus. But these big ones, you do have to
there's a
stop
lot
and think
more
about
laws
what
and
you're doing.
regulations in
Yeah.
these than
So what
these.
are you doing there?
So right now, after I venipunctured,
Uh-huh.
we fill up a little sample bag, and we fill up test tubes.
Oh.
And whether you've donated one time or if you've donated 67 times, we always do test tubes, and they always run quite immaculate set of tests on it for everything under the sun. And if there's any reason they need to contact you, if they think your cortisone level's too low, they'll contact you and let you know, hey, you need to go to your doctor. I think your cortisone or your
There's
cholesterol.
some value to giving blood. Then you find out
You
something
can.
about your health.
I can say this on record. I didn't know I didn't have any vitamin D in my body. I thought I was dealing with a small spell of the downs.
Why am I? Yeah.
Yeah, and so anyway, I gave blood, and a couple weeks later, they reached out to me and said I had zero vitamin
Zero.
D, 0%, and so that's how I found out I didn't have any vitamin D.
Is that
And
the
we
one
got
you
that.
get from sunshine?
Yes.
Well, that's a little creepy. You're in the dark all the time and you're taking blood. You sound
Yeah.
like a vampire.
I think that's what we're in this cold bus and it's shadowed.
Oh,
And the only
yeah.
time we're outside is when we're recruiting, and it's so hot right now that we try to stay in the shade.
You know, I interviewed Dr. Jason Franks. One of the comments, he talked about maintaining your health through the years. So one of the things he said, we should all get out early in the morning and face the sunshine. He said the light,
as it's coming up.
as it's coming up, he said it just resets your body, and you can go back and listen to the Jason Franks podcast, which, by the way, is the most popular one that I've put up so far. That people keep listening to that. I've had some good podcasts. One of my favorites was the Elvin Poole, the guy that bought the house in Magnolia, but he couldn't move in yet because the governor of Arkansas was in the second floor. That was an interesting. He bought it.
Cool.
It was a bed and breakfast.
Uh-huh.
He completed They turned the money over, and he said, "Okay, when can I move in?" And they said, "Well, you can't move in right now. It's a bed and breakfast." And the governor of Arkansas and his staff were in town for the Blossom Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you can't move in yet. The governor of Arkansas is up there.
This most recent Blossom Festival or several?
No, it was probably 20 years ago when
Okay.
he bought the house. It was Mike Huckabee.
I was going to ask. I
How many people find Mike Huckabee in the upstairs of the house? They just
probably not
bought?
many people. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm from Hope, and
You're
my
from
hubby
Hope.
frequented Hope quite a bit growing up.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if he's from that area.
He served in Texarkana as
Maybe
pastor
that's
for
why.
a while.
But he played a lot at our school functions before
he
he
played-
became really big in.
bass guitar.
Yeah, there you
didn't
go.
he? And
He
then
did.
another guy from Hope played saxophone, Bill Clinton.
There you go. Good old Bill
In fact,
Clinton.
we went up there a few years back when he was on a campaign trip just to meet the guy.
Coming through.
At the train station.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all got a train station in Hope.
We do, and we actually, for a long time, I don't think anything ran in and out of Hope, but now the Amtrak
The
does.
Amtrak.
So now people, and I've actually rode the Amtrak from Hope all the way to Galveston, Texas.
Oh, really?
A few different stops and change-outs along the way, but
We thought about
very
taking
cool.
it to San Antonio, where our son and his family
I
live,
recommend
but-
it. I highly recommend it.
Oh.
The food cart is an all-glass top cart,
Uh-huh.
and so while you're riding down and snacking on your food, it's it's beautiful.
Wow.
It's
We'll
beautiful.
have to try out the Amtrak.
There you go.
So how long have you lived in Hope?
I've lived in Hope my whole life. I was born, at the time it was Medical Park Hospital, but I was born in Hope, raised in Hope. I've lived there my whole life. I'll be 32 this year.
Now, Shelby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
Shelby. Somebody asked me one time, have you lived in Magnolia all your life? And I said, not yet. So
Not
the correct
yet,
answer
amen.
is not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. I have been in Hope for a majority.
The majority.
Okay.
So far, up until now.
Yes. May I ask real quick, how are you feeling?
Feel fine.
You,
I feel giddy.
you
I
look
feel
good.
talkative.
You
I
look
feel-
great. You are done.
No, you're kidding
I'm
me.
not. You did
How
that
can I be
in
done that
5 minutes and 55 seconds.
So don't worry about it taking too long. I
There
get
you
blood.
go.
The blood came out in 5
Well,
minutes.
with veins as good as that one, I don't think you'd ever
I'm
have any
proud of
issues.
that.
There,
I'm
you
proud
should
of that.
be.
So what do you do next?
So
What's your next
right
step?
now we are going to take the needle out, And I am going to bandage you up real good. Before I do that, I'm going to close off all my lines to the bag to make sure that we don't air contaminate anything once I remove that needle.
Y'all are so careful.
We have to be.
Shelby, you know what I see over there?
Excuse me, what's that?
Little Debbie. Little Debbie.
You see those oatmeal cream pies?
Oatmeal cream pies.
And we really do. I really try to encourage people to eat, even if they had a good breakfast. I try to, as long as your stomach is coated real well. Usually, all the experiences always go very well.
All I had for breakfast was one little granola bar.
One little granola bar.
And
no bacon and eggs.
And a dozen donut holes. Okay, a dozen donut holes.
There's your little breading.
And I wonder why I can't lose weight.
All
so
right.
There goes the needle.
And
needle's gone?
The needle's gone.
Wow,
now,
you don't even feel it going
the worst
out.
part is the tape that I have to tape the needle down with. That's the worst part.
And that's gone.
If you will reach over and put some good pressure on there for me. Perfect. And we are just putting everything up now, making sure that my needle's not out and it's not creating any hazardous situations.
Well, Shelby, I'm through giving blood. We're about to draw this podcast to a close.
Thank you for letting me join you.
It has been so much fun.
It was
You were
awesome.
an excellent interview.
I'm glad I got to run into you again.
So tell me very quickly. I'm holding my finger on the spot. What am I going to go through the next couple of minutes?
Honestly, the only thing we are doing is we're going to bandage it up real well. And then I'm going to give you a good spiel about how you should make sure your next meal is a good meal. And make sure that you drink plenty of fluids, things like that. The last thing that goes over this arm is some Coban.
To keep it in, keep the Band-Aid in place. And the nice thing about that, it's bright and colorful, and people see it, and they say, "What is that?"
There you go.
I gave blood. So,
you got to let them know, I gave blood, I saved some lives. What are you doing today?
That is it. That is it.
And
then I'm ready. I'm going to sit here in this chair a little bit. You'll give me one of those little Debbie oatmeal cookies.
Yep. And we did a study recently that showed that most donors, if they do have a reaction, is usually within 6 minutes after the needle is taken out. And so I usually try to keep my donors for 6 to 10 minutes. And as long as they feel good enough to get off the bus, I let them go. We do keep a watchful eye, though, just to make sure.
Well, I'm going to sit here and eat that cookie.
You want oatmeal cream pie?
Yeah, oatmeal cream pie. And then also forgiving, did you say I get a
You get a wonderful beach towel.
Oh, that is great. So I've saved a life. I get an oatmeal cream pie. I get a bottle of water and a beach towel.
And a beach towel.
Well, what could be better?
Nothing. I don't think anything could.
All right, Shelby.
It's a very productive day.
Thank you for taking my blood and being my
Thank you.
guest on Life in
LA.
LA.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Life in LA. Feel free to contact us at steveford@gmail.com if you have a suggestion for a future topic. And as always, tell others about this podcast and share it on your favorite social media. You've been listening to Life in LA, a production of Steve Ford Photography.